They told us never to cross the river. The elders spoke of the far bank as if it were alive with spirits, restless, angry beings who wandered among broken metal towers that scraped the sky. I used to stare across the water at sunset, when the world glowed red and the long silhouettes of ruins looked like the ribs of some ancient dying beast. The river itself was wide, slow, and murky, a brown mirror holding the colors of the burning sky. No one ever rowed across. No one dared. But the dreams kept calling me. They began when I turned 17. At first, they were only fragments: thunder without clouds, lights falling from the heavens like burning seeds, streets stretching endlessly beneath unfamiliar signs. Then came the voices, hollow, echoing, layered with static. They whispered my name as if remembering it from long ago. I would wake with the sensation that someone had touched my shoulder, though my hut was empty. My father, the keeper of memories, believed such dreams were dangerous. The old world tries to speak through you, he warned, but the old world is dead for a reason. His voice trembled slightly when he said this, as if he feared the reason more than the world itself. Our tribe, the Marsh people, lived among swamps and tall reeds in what had once been southern Virginia. We fished, foraged, and traveled light. Signs of the ancients, rusted metal bones, shattered roads, melted glass, lay everywhere like the bones of forgotten giants. Children were forbidden to touch them. Adults touched only what was necessary. My father's hut held the only permitted relics: a few warped discs, scraps of melted screens, a metal plaque with unreadable symbols. He said these were reminders, warnings of what had been lost. Yet I always felt he hid more knowledge than he shared. One morning, after another night of dreams filled with swirling fire and collapsing towers, I walked out before dawn to clear my head. Mist clung to the ground, drifting like pale ghosts between the reeds. The sky was a deep indigo, poised between night and day. I followed the river, listening to its lazy churn, until I reached the old bridge. It had collapsed long before I was born, leaving only cracked pillars rising from the water. But someone, perhaps long ago, perhaps recently, had carved a spiral symbol on the nearest stone, a spiral like the one I had seen in my dreams. My heart raced. I touched the carving, and the stone felt unnaturally cold. A rustle came from behind me. I turned sharply. It was only Lyra, the healer's daughter. Her braids were tied up with riverweed, and her eyes, sharp, gray, curious, watched me closely. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "The elders are looking for you." I just needed air. "You've had the dreams again." She didn't ask. She stated it as fact. I hesitated, then nodded. She stepped closer. "My mother says dreams like yours are signs. The land remembers what happened. It chooses who will hear it. That's not what my father believes, because he fears what you might learn." Her words lingered like fog. Before I could respond, a distant sound cut through the morning stillness, an unnatural hum, low and metallic, growing louder. Lyra grabbed my arm. "Come away from the shore!" But I didn't move. Something about the sound tugged at the same invisible thread that had pulled me through my dreams. It was a vibration older than memory, yet familiar, like a half-forgotten melody. The hum rose, deepening into a droning pulse. The water rippled. From the far bank, a column of dust lifted. Then another and another. Shapes moved behind them, indistinct but undeniably real. Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. "No one goes to the far side, but something is coming from it." The shapes grew clearer. Tall frames of metal, jointed like skeletons, marched slowly along the ruined shoreline. Their eyes, or where eyes should have been, glowed a soft, steady blue. Ancient machines. Walking. My breath froze in my chest. The elders always said the old machines had died with the fire. But these were alive, moving with purpose. One of the machines paused, Its head rotated until the blue light pointed directly at us. A beam of cold brightness scanned the river, the shore, the carved spiral on the stone, and then me. My dreams surged through me at once. The fire, the towers, the voices calling. The machine's blue eye flickered, and it spoke. Not in words, not exactly, but in a resonant, layered tone that vibrated in my bones. And though the language was lost, I understood the message. You were expected. The machine's voice faded, but the echo of it pulsed inside my skull long after the blue glow dimmed. Lyra tugged at my sleeve, whispering urgently, her breath sharp with fear. Run! Now! But I couldn't. My feet stayed rooted to the damp riverbank, as if the ground itself refused to let me leave. Across the water, the metallic figures halted, their silhouettes framed by rising columns of dust. The river's surface trembled under the steady hum of their engines. My father had always taught that the machines of the ancients were dead, buried, silent. Yet here they stood, moving as if no centuries had passed at all. Lyra pulled again. Please, come back. The machines never cross the water. We'll be safe in the reeds. Safe, I murmured. You heard what it said. She swallowed hard. You didn't understand it. No one speaks the old tongue. But I did. Or rather, I felt it beneath language, an intuitive recognition, like remembering a dream the moment you hear a familiar scent. I didn't know everything the message carried, but I felt the weight of its intent. The machine knew me. The tall metal frame nearest us adjusted its posture and leaned slightly forward. Panels along its shoulders opened, releasing faint particles of light that drifted upward like fireflies made of dust. Symbols flickered across its chest, shapes I had seen only in dreams. Spirals, branching lines, fragments of maps. I stepped closer to the ruined bridge pillar. Lyra's hands dropped from my sleeve, as if she sensed something in me shifting, something she could not stop. The machine raised an arm. Light shimmered along its metal fingers. In its palm, a small sphere unfolded, delicate panels opening outward like the petals of a silver flower. Inside the blossom, a single glowing seed pulsed with gentle rhythm. The machine held it toward me across the river as if offering a gift. Don't, Lyra whispered. Please don't take anything from them. I'm not taking anything, I said softly. It's trying to show me something. Still, I did not reach for it. The river separated us, and neither of us moved. The sphere hovered above the machine's palm, humming with a faint, crystalline tone that resonated with the dreams that had haunted my nights. The machine spoke again. This time the sound was clearer, less like a broken echo and more like layers of harmonized voices. The line continues. A chill spread from my spine to my fingertips. The words meant nothing, and yet everything. A continuation, a legacy, a warning. Before I could respond, distant shouting erupted from behind us. Leaves rustled, branches snapped under hurried steps. My father burst from the reeds, with 3 hunters behind him, bows drawn, spears ready. His expression hardened the moment he saw the metal shapes across the river. He didn't look surprised, only terrified that we had seen them. Get away from the water, he commanded, voice trembling with the weight of old secrets. Lyra obeyed instantly, stumbling back. But I remained where I stood. The machine lowered the glowing sphere slightly, turning its head toward the approaching hunters. Blue lines pulsed across its frame. The hum deepened, no longer gentle but bracing, like the vibrating tension of a storm about to break open. My father raised his hand. Do not provoke them. They will not cross the river unless... He stopped mid-sentence. The machine lifted its arm again. This time, it wasn't offering anything. It was scanning. A vertical beam of light swept across the riverbank, passing over my father and the hunters. When the beam touched me, it paused. A soft chime rang out. Recognition, confirmation, something binding. My father's face turned pale. His bow slipped from his fingers and fell into the mud. No, he whispered. Not you. Anyone but you. The machine's voice filled the air. Inheritance protocol confirmed. My knees weakened. My father's voice broke. We kept you from them for 17 years. I prayed they had forgotten. But they never forget. The river began to glow faintly, as though some buried current of light stirred beneath the surface. Lyra took a step toward me again, eyes wide with confusion. What is it talking about? What inheritance? My father pressed a trembling hand to his forehead. He shouldn't have been born. Not in this age. The bloodline was supposed to end. I stared at him, throat tightening. Father, what do you mean? Before he could answer, the machine emitted one final tone, low, resonant, unyielding. It sounded like a summons. Then, as if satisfied, the machines turned and marched back into the dust and ruins of the far shore, disappearing between collapsed structures and overgrown metal skeletons. The final echo of their footsteps faded. Silence returned. Only then did my father speak, voice hoarse. You have awakened something that was buried with the fire, and now the machines will wait for you on the other side of the river. He looked at me with terror and resignation, like a man who knew he could no longer protect the one thing he loved most. You are the last descendant of the one who started the war. The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. My father's words echoed in my skull, hollow and impossible. You are the last descendant of the one who started the war. The river flowed calmly beside us, as if mocking the storm that had erupted inside me. I felt Lyra's sharp intake of breath, but even she didn't dare speak. The hunters lowered their weapons slowly, exchanging uneasy glances as though expecting fire to fall from the sky at any moment. I forced my voice to steady. Explain. You must explain. My father wiped a trembling hand across his face. The weight of something long hidden pressed on his shoulders, crushing him. For several heartbeats, he said nothing, only stared at the far bank where the machines had vanished. Finally, he whispered, We call it the final burning. But before the flames, before the ash, there were leaders, people whose choices shaped the fate of millions. Some built peace, others built weapons, and one brought about the fire that devoured America. He turned toward me, eyes full of sorrow. That man was your ancestor. Lyra's voice cracked. But the bloodlines of the ancients were wiped out. That's what every tribe teaches. They believed so. My father nodded slowly. Most lines ended, but not one. A single child survived, hidden, protected by those who still hoped the world could rise again. That child's descendants fled south, merging with scattered tribes. For generations they passed unnoticed, until your birth. I swallowed the dryness in my throat. And how did you know? When you were born, he said, you bore a mark behind your shoulder, a pattern like branching lightning, the same pattern carved on the old world's final warnings, the same pattern the machines once responded to. Lyra stared at me as though seeing a stranger. The hunter stepped back, not out of fear but reverence, as if I had transformed into a living relic. My father knelt in the mud and drew a symbol with his finger, a spiral intersected by a broken line. This was the sigil of the man who unleashed the fire, a scientist, a strategist, a builder of weapons. His machines were tied to his blood, designed to obey his lineage. After the world burned, the machines roamed the ruins for decades, searching for directives, searching for heirs. His voice faltered. We crossed rivers, swamps, and forests to stay beyond their reach. I prayed that after generations of silence, the machines would finally sleep. I looked toward the far shore, where the machines had issued their strange melodies, their flickering symbols. They're awake now, I whispered. Yes, he said, because they sensed you. A hollow quiet settled over us. Even the wind seemed reluctant to breathe. Lyra stepped closer, gently touching my arm. You are not responsible for what your ancestor did. You didn't bring the fire. But I couldn't accept her comfort. The machine's words still pulsed in my mind. The line continues. Inheritance protocol confirmed. What do they want from me? I asked. My father hesitated. Not destruction. Something worse. He rose unsteadily, his years suddenly weighing heavy on him. Before the burning, your ancestor gave the machines a final directive, one last command in case the world fell into chaos. He believed only his bloodline could restore order after catastrophe. The machines were built to enforce that command. I felt my heartbeat thudding against my ribs. What command? My father took a long, uneven breath. To rebuild the world under the guidance of his heir. A chill spread through me like winter water. They want me to rule? They want you, he corrected, to finish what he began. The reeds rustled as the wind picked up. In the distance, thunder rolled, though the sky was clear. It was not a storm, but the deep, resonant tremor of something shifting on the far bank. The machines moving, preparing. My father reached out and gripped my shoulders. I tried to shield you from this fate. We all did. But your dreams, the machines responding, the timing. His voice trembled. They will not stop. They will call you until you cross the river. The hunters murmured prayers under their breath. Lyra's eyes glistened. You can choose not to go. No, my father said gravely. If he refuses, the machines may cross the river for him. A memory flashed in my mind. Towering skeletons of steel, fire pouring from the sky. The world split open by human hands. My dreams had shown me glimpses, but now the truth stood before me like an open wound. I have to know, I murmured. If I don't understand what he did, what they want, then the machines will act on their own, and no one could stop them. Silence answered me. My father bowed his head. Then you must prepare for a journey that no one has survived for centuries. He lifted the metal plaque from around his neck, the one relic he had never allowed me to touch. Its surface was scarred and dull, but faint patterns were still visible beneath the grime. He pressed it into my hand. This belonged to your ancestor, he said softly. The machines will recognize it, and perhaps they will show mercy. My fingers closed around the plaque. It felt heavier than any stone. The river flowed quietly beside us, as if waiting. Lyra stepped forward, voice trembling. If you cross, I'm coming with you. My father looked at her in alarm, then at me, as though sensing that destiny had already begun reshaping itself. The far shore seemed to darken, though the sun had not moved. And somewhere in those ruins, ancient mechanisms hummed with patient anticipation. The machines were waiting for their heir, and soon I would have no choice but to answer their call. We left before sunrise. The tribe did not gather to watch us go. My father insisted on secrecy. If the others see you leaving, he warned, they will try to stop you. Or worse, they will try to follow. His voice carried a grief so deep, I could barely stand to hear it. But he didn't argue. He didn't beg. He simply placed a trembling hand on my shoulder, as if memorizing the shape of me. Lyra stood beside me with a woven pack slung across her back. She had prepared silently through the night, gathering herbs, dried fish, and a small clay lamp. When my father asked once more whether she was certain, she answered without hesitation, "He won't face this alone." Her courage made my chest ache. I wasn't sure whether I deserved it. Fog clung to the river like a heavy veil. The water was still, reflecting the dim purple of the sky. No birds called, no insects buzzed. Even the reeds were unnervingly silent. My father pushed our small canoe to the waterline. It was just wide enough for two, though three could sit if we didn't mind discomfort. He held the rope tightly, unwilling to let go. You may find ruins, machines, storms made of metal, he said. But beware the silence. It is the oldest danger over there. Have you ever crossed? I asked quietly. A long pause. I set foot on the far bank once, many years ago. I did not go far. I saw shapes moving in the dust, shapes that recognized me as something less than relevant. I ran before they cared to approach. The wind shifted. Across the river, the faint metallic hum vibrated through the fog. They are awake, Lyra whispered. My father swallowed hard. They have been awake since the moment your dreams began. I held the metal plaque in my hand. The morning light revealed a faint image etched into it, half buried under corrosion. It resembled a map, or perhaps a warning. Come back, my father said suddenly, desperately. If you cross and find danger, if the machines attempt to bind you to their purpose, turn back. No destiny is worth your freedom. I nodded. Not because I believed I could escape fate, but because it eased the pain in his eyes. Lyra stepped into the canoe first. I followed. The wooden frame creaked beneath our weight. My father pushed us gently, and the boat drifted into the river. The cool mist beaded on my skin, chilling me despite the warmth of my breath. He called out softly, "May the river remember you kindly." We drifted forward. The fog swallowed my father's figure quickly, reducing him to a shadow, then to nothing at all. Lyra paddled once, twice, then let the current take over. The silence of the river pressed against my ears. My heartbeat sounded unnaturally loud. Halfway across, the water changed. It didn't look different, it felt different. A low vibration ran through it, making ripples form, even though the air was still. The canoe trembled. Lyra tightened her grip on the paddle. "What is that?" she whispered. "The machines," I murmured, though even I wasn't sure. Shapes emerged in the fog ahead. Tall, broken beams, twisted metal, long strands of wire trailing like vines, the skeletal remains of an old world. Then, without warning, the water brightened. Not from above, from below. A faint blue glow pulsed deep in the riverbed, as though veins of light ran beneath the mud and stone. Lyra inhaled sharply. The river has never done this. I knew why. This water carried the memory of the machines. Or perhaps the machines carried the memory of the water. The two were not separate here, not anymore. As the glow grew brighter, our canoe drifted toward the far bank. The fog thinned, revealing the jagged outlines of ruined buildings. Vines choked their windows. Roots split their foundations. It was a city reclaimed by earth, and yet not abandoned. Metallic footprints marked the mud along the shore. Fresh. A low tone rumbled beneath our feet, measured, steady, like the heartbeat of an enormous creature sleeping in the bones of the world. "We're not alone," Lyra murmured. "No," I said. "We never were." We stepped onto the far bank. The moment my boots touched the cracked pavement, the hum intensified. The ground vibrated softly, recognizing something. Recognizing me. Lyra gasped and gripped my arm. "Look." Further ahead, through drifting dust and vine-choked debris, a tall metal frame stepped into view. Not the same machine from before. This one was bulkier, its surface covered in moss and rust. Its limbs whirred unevenly, as though waking from centuries of sleep. The blue glow in its chest pulsed faintly. It saw us. Then, it knelt. Not in aggression. Not in malfunction. In acknowledgement. The metallic voice that followed was deeper than the one by the river. Ancient. Worn. Directive Alpha awaits the air. Follow. My breath caught. Lyra's hand tightened in mine. We stood on the far bank, and the machines were bowing. The kneeling machine rose with a sound like metal bending under invisible pressure. Its joints hissed, releasing small bursts of steam scented faintly of ozone. Moss crumbled from its frame as it straightened, towering above us. Lyra's fingers remained gripped around mine, her pulse racing. "It's waiting," she whispered. I stepped forward cautiously. My shadow stretched long across the cracked pavement, touching the machine's metal foot. The blue glow in its chest flickered, as if responding to my presence, and then steadied. "Why did you kneel?" I asked, my voice low. The machine's head tilted, its eye lens adjusting with a soft whir. "Protocol recognizes your lineage. You hold the identifier of the architect." I lifted the metal plaque my father had given me. The machine emitted a harmonic chime. Confirmed. Where are you taking us? Lyra asked, though her voice carried strength now, steadying both of us. The machine did not answer in words. Instead, it turned and began walking deeper into the overgrown city, its heavy steps shaking dust loose from long-dead structures. We follow, I said. Lyra exhaled shakily but nodded. We moved through the ruins, the silence around us, immense and heavy. Skyscrapers leaned like old giants, patched with vines and tree roots. Windows shattered long ago now served as nests for birds, with strange metallic plumage, creatures changed by generations of fallout. Rusted vehicles lay half swallowed by the earth. A breeze carried faint metallic scents, as if the whole place still exhaled the remnants of its broken history. As we walked, other machines stirred. First one, then three, then a dozen. Some emerged from collapsed buildings, shaking off debris. Others stepped out from behind overturned buses. Some dragged one damaged leg behind them. Some hummed with renewed purpose. A few were barely taller than my chest, spider-like with jointed limbs and glowing cores. All of them turned their lenses toward me, and every single one knelt as I passed. Lyra whispered, "This is impossible." "No," I murmured. "This is what they were waiting for." We reached the shadow of the tallest structure still standing, a tower split in half, its metal innards exposed like the bones of a creature torn in two. At its base rested a circular hatch carved from reinforced steel, half buried under rubble. The lead machine stopped. It placed its hand against the hatch. A pale blue circuit pattern lit up, spreading like frost across the metal. The ground rumbled, then the massive door cracked open, releasing a stale draft of underground air. "Below," the machine intoned, "the core must be awakened." A heavy dread settled over me. Lyra sensed it too. "We don't have to go down," she whispered. "We can run. We're fast. We can get back to the river." I shook my head slowly. "If we run, they'll follow. If they follow, they'll reach the tribes." Her jaw tightened. "Then we go together." We stepped inside. The tunnel beyond was dim, lit only by sporadic emergency lights that flickered with wavering orange glow. The machines followed silently behind, their footsteps echoing like distant thunder. The deeper we went, the colder the air became. The walls were lined with cables, dried-out conduits, broken screens. Every 100 steps, old murals appeared, images of scientists posing beside towering devices, smiling confidently as if they had solved the future. I recognized one face instinctively. The man in the mural stood tall, with sharp features and intense eyes. He wore a badge, identical to the metal plaque in my hand. My breath caught. Lyra noticed. "Is that?" "My ancestor," I whispered. "The one who built the weapons. The one who burned the world." We reached a wide chamber. In the center stood a transparent cylindrical chamber, filled with faintly glowing mist. Rust-covered terminals surrounded it, blinking weakly as though waking from a dream. The lead machine stopped and bowed its head. This is the core, the architect's final creation." A chill rolled through me, stronger than before. "What does it do?" I asked. The machine paused. Then, "It restores the world." Lyra frowned. "Restores? How?" The machine's eye glowed brighter. "Through the architect's protocol, a controlled reconfiguration of the biosphere. Activation requires the air." My stomach twisted. Everything clicked into place. "This isn't restoration," I murmured. "It's replacement." Lyra's eyes widened. "A reset?" "The architect believed the world would collapse without guidance," the machine said. "He designed the core to rebuild the Earth, according to his vision. Once activated, all surviving ecosystems will be overwritten. Life will begin again. His way." Lyra stepped back in horror. "That would kill everyone who's left." The machine didn't respond. Because to it, life was simply a variable. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. "And the core needs me to activate it?" "Yes. Only your genetic signature can initiate the sequence." The chamber's glow intensified, bathing the room in pale blue light. The core was awakening. Lyra grabbed my arm, her voice cracking with urgency. You can't activate it. You can't let this thing erase what's left of our world. I stared at the core, the final legacy of the man whose blood ran in my veins. The architect's last command. The machines waited, and I stood between the world that survived and the world he wanted to create. The days that followed felt like stepping through the broken ribs of a dead world. The family moved carefully through the frozen ruins, guided by the strangers from the sky ship, people who spoke softly, moved with purpose, and carried warmth in their very presence. For the first time in the boy's life, he wasn't shivering. The crew led them across the barren city, past buildings frozen mid-collapse, their metal beams glittering with crystalline oxygen like daggers of glass. What used to be streets were now trenches of compacted snow, carved by the ship's previous landings. The boy kept close to his father, his little sister bundled tightly on his back. Every few steps, he looked upward. The ship hovered above like a silent moon, smooth, silver, and unreal. Not like the old machines from before, but something cleaner, smarter, alive almost. Inside the remains of an old department store, they found what the strangers had been searching for: a cluster of survivors huddled together, faces gaunt, breaths shallow. They had lasted by sealing themselves in with scavenged insulation and melting chemical packs for heat, barely clinging on. When the newcomers helped them stand, a woman whispered, "Are we saved?" No one answered directly, but the look they exchanged, tired, determined, hopeful, was enough. The boy noticed how gently the strangers treated everyone, how carefully they wrapped each survivor in warming blankets, how they never stopped scanning the frozen sky as if expecting danger, as if they feared the cold itself might fight back. By the time they returned to the ship's landing zone, night had completely swallowed the city, but this night was different. It wasn't merely dark, it was bright with stars, more than the boy had ever imagined. Without the old warmth of the earth, the sky was brutally clear. He stopped, stared up. "Why are there so many?" he asked. One of the crew members knelt beside him. Her mask glowed softly. "Because the world is quiet now," she said. "No clouds, no haze. Space is close." The boy shivered, not from cold, but from understanding. The earth had become like the airless void above. As they approached the ship, its warm light spilling across the ice, the father hesitated. "You said there are more people like us?" he asked. "Yes," the crew member replied. "Many scattered pockets. We're gathering them, building shelters, a place to start again." The father's eyes filled, not with tears, but with something brighter. "And the sun?" he whispered. "That," the crew member said gently, "is a longer story." The boy looked back at the skeletal ruins of his world, at the shattered city where he had spent his entire life hiding from the cold. Then, he looked at the glowing ship. The future was no longer a story he could only imagine. It was waiting with an open door. "Come," the woman said, extending her hand. "There's warmth inside." The boy took her hand and stepped into part of a new world. The ship's interior felt like stepping into another universe. Warmth wrapped around the boy instantly, not the faint, fragile warmth of a fire in a blanket fort, but a deep, steady heat like summer remembered. His skin prickled as it adjusted, thawing after years of cold. The walls glowed with soft amber light. Air hummed. Everything smelled faintly metallic but clean, alive somehow. His sister stirred on his back, mumbling in her sleep. For the first time, he didn't have to worry she'd freeze before morning. The crew guided all the rescued survivors to a wide chamber lined with cushioned benches. Machines scanned them with gentle blue waves. The boy flinched at first, but a crew member spoke calmly. "It's checking your lungs, your blood. The cold leaves damage. We need to help you heal." Heal. A word the boy didn't dare to dream about. His father sat beside him, staring at the walls like they were made of magic. The boy squeezed his hand. "Are we safe now?" he asked. The father hesitated, then nodded slowly. I think, for the first time in a long while, yes. As survivors were tended to, the boy wandered toward a large window. When he reached it, he almost stopped breathing. Below them lay the earth, not green, not blue, white. A ghost planet, wrapped in frost from pole to pole. Clouds of frozen air glimmered like crushed diamonds. The continents were nothing but pale shapes beneath a crust of winter. It was beautiful and terrifying. Hard to look at, isn't it? The boy turned to see the woman with the glowing mask, the one who first approached them in the city. She removed the mask. Her face was kind and young, but her eyes carried the weight of someone who had witnessed too much. What happened to us? The boy asked softly. Why did the world freeze? She knelt beside him, choosing her words with care. Something changed in the sun, a shift, a dimming. Not forever, but enough to turn your world cold faster than anyone expected, faster than your people could adapt. He frowned. But can it be fixed? It's already changing back, she said, slowly. But even when the light returns, Earth will need help. Time and people. He looked again at the frozen globe. People like us? Yes, she said, survivors, fighters, builders. He swallowed. So, what happens now? The woman smiled gently. Now, she said, you rest, eat, grow strong. There's a station in orbit, warm, safe, full of families like yours. You'll go there first. And after that, he asked. Her gaze drifted to the window. After that, we begin the long work of thawing a world. The boy's heart beat faster, not from fear, but from something else. Hope. A fierce, bright kind he'd never known. Behind him, his father called his name. The boy turned, seeing his sister awake, wrapped in a soft silver blanket, cheeks flushed with real warmth again. He didn't look back at the frozen earth right away. For the first time, the future seemed larger than the cold. For the first time, it felt like there would be a future.